Okay, so what is up, you guys? It is Hectic Hex. For those who don't know me, I do random videos on whatever I feel like, and today we're doing a video on Anthony Scalia. It's gonna be more of a question his death kind of conspiracy video. The other day I was talking with my girlfriend, and we were talking about, or she was bringing up how weird this situation was, and she read this blog about how there is this justice, Supreme Court justice, that died in his sleep, and the rumors was that his throat was slashed by some kids that he was abusing at this Texas home, and I'll get more into it later on. And I rolled my eyes and I thought no more of it until she mentioned that there was no autopsy done. And later I asked what was the name of the judge, and it was Scalia. And I went on the web to see, well, if that's the case, was there no autopsy done on Anthony Scalia? And no autopsy was performed on the Supreme Court justice after he died on February 2016. So I was around 16 years old. The decision to forego an autopsy led to conspiracy theories. I wonder why. And it was his wife that said she doesn't want an autopsy. It was so many people. Everybody in his family all said no autopsy. So immediately I had a lot of questions about that. Anybody should have questions about that. But when we look more into some of the reports, then we're gonna have to start thinking, okay, is there something bigger that they're not telling us? Well, let's check it out. Okay, so this is coming from the National Library of Medicine. I read with interest the reports. The author is Nancy A. Collop, by the way. I read with interest the reports that Justice Antonin Scalia was found dead in his bed with a CPAP neither attached or to him nor even plugged in. Many of the news reports noted that the chances of death from skipping a single day is tiny, and patients can and do take breaks because they have a cold, forget to take machine on short trips, or because the masks are irritating. Typically, the only immediate ill effects are snoring and possibly getting up at night gasping. But oh, how I wish the message was different, given Justice Scalia's reported comorbid illness and probable severe sleep apnea. I'm guessing his neck circumference at least 18 plus inches, whatever. Okay, so already we're starting off with something weird, right? He had sleep apnea, and he needed the machine, and it wasn't attached to him. Reportedly, Justice Scalia's death certificate listed the cause of death as myocardial infarction, although the county judge who completed the death certificate noted that he died of natural causes. No autopsy was performed, and the death certificate was not released to the public. Again, these are weird things to do and to have of such a public official and not even know what he died from. Right now we're just theorizing on what he died from. You have doctors here making reports and papers on theories on what could he have possibly died on. Why did we not do a fucking autopsy on him? Right? So there's a lot of questions there. And again, this is a Supreme Court judge, and we don't know what he died from because there was no autopsy performed, and the county judge decided to certify it as died of natural causes. Weird, right? Let's get into the rest of the reports. All right, so this first video I want to show you guys is the inside story of the Justice Scalia death. This was 3 minutes long. This is 6 years ago, April 16, 2018. So remember, he died in 2016. So this was uploaded 2 years after his death. Weird. Weird, right? Let's look into this.
We've learned some fascinating new details tonight about the final days in the life of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia and his connection to a prominent Houston businessman. Justice Scalia passed away on a West Texas ranch last month. He had been invited there by the ranch owner, a Houston Vietnam veteran named John Poindexter. Poindexter found Scalia's body and made the first call for help. Investigative reporter Jace Larson has obtained a new sheriff's office report and he's spoken with Poindexter about his connection to Justice Scalia.
His death upended political traditions and caused a bitter fight in Washington. And it was all spurred by what happened on this remote, gorgeous West Texas ranch near the Mexico border. The final moments of one of the most powerful men in the country. The Cibolo Creek Ranch is no doubt one of the most beautiful places in our state. Its website, which lets the general public pay to stay on the property, shows unique views and promises excellent Texas cuisine. But on Valentine's weekend, its private guests were invited by wealthy Houstonian John Poindexter. There were about 35 people, including Justice Antonin Scalia. Poindexter, a well-known name in Houston's elite social circles, started on Wall Street. President Obama awarded him the Presidential Unit Citation in 2009 for his heroism during a Vietnam rescue. That weekend was the first time that Poindexter had invited Scalia to the ranch.
We had lunch and then embarked on a tour of the ranch.
They spent time quail hunting.
Didn't exert himself at all, had a very pleasant time. He was, of course, his usual personable self.
After dinner, Justice Scalia excused himself to his guest room, the El Presidente suite.
He was tired and wanted to have a very long night's sleep.
It was the last time anyone talked to Justice Scalia. After sunrise the next morning, the group knocked on his door with no answer. But hours later, Poindexter entered the room after concern filled his mind.
When I found him Saturday morning, was in complete repose. He was very peaceful in the bed. He had obviously passed away with no difficulty at all.
This report from the Presidio County Sheriff's Office says Poindexter called the Sheriff's Office twice, trying to get the U.S. Marshal's telephone number. The sheriff wrote in his report that Poindexter, quote, then stated to me that this death was way beyond my authority and should go to the feds. I then replied, it doesn't matter who it is. It was still under my jurisdiction. The sheriff ultimately gave in and gave Poindexter the marshal's telephone number. The sheriff decided to head to the ranch and only learned on the way that it was Justice Scalia who died. Within hours, news started leaking. Though a report claiming that a hearse at the ranch was a decoy, Poindexter told me that's not true. It was later that night when a van came to take Justice Scalia's body to a funeral home in El Paso. In Scalia's room, police found a briefcase and his open suitcase. There was also a breathing machine next to his bed, but it was not on or attached to Scalia. Jace Larson, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Big decision from the U.S. Supreme Court.
We have learned some fascinating.
Again, how weird is that of a death? You have a CPAP machine that's not connected. You're in this rich guy's, elite guy's house or private residence of this just miles long stretch of land that's known to be a hunting ground. There's so many questions that we have. The sheriff couldn't see the body. They needed the marshals. Why? Because sheriffs have body cams. There are so many questions. Why is this death so under wrap? It's one of those things that we have to ask ourselves. Are we being told the fucking truth? All right, next video. So real briefly, I want to mention a name that they the elite guy's name was John Poindexter, that's his ranch, and he was convicted in April 7th, 1990 of lying to Congress. All right, and he's a walking man and everything, rich as hell, and has a fucking ranch. And he's telling us that he witnessed Scalia's death, or his death on his sleep. And he, according to him, no struggle at all. Weird thing to say from a lying man. You know what I mean? So John Poindexter is definitely a corrupt dude. Wouldn't trust him at all. One of the persons that we need. Again, why was he in there? And there was people in the residence. They said there was more guests. They were there for a private outing. Who else was in the guest list? Again, questions and questions. Now let's keep watching.
This is the room where Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died. His body was found Saturday in the luxury suite at a pricey hunting resort in rural Texas, 15 miles from the Mexican border. Today, we are learning more about Scalia's final hours. There are questions about the cause of death and the crucial hours following the discovery of his body.
He had gone on a hunt.
He had?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, yes. Earlier. Friday afternoon.
The 79-year-old justice arrived Friday at the ranch with a friend on a private charter jet, landing on a private airstrip. They were guests of the wealthy resort owner, John Poindexter. Soon after, they went out to hunt. Scalia ate dinner Friday night, where his mood was said to be animated and engaged. At around 9 p.m., Scalia said, "It's been a long day and a long week. I want to get some sleep."
He had a great time. In fact, when he turned in, he was looking forward to the next day's activities.
Late Saturday morning, Scalia still hadn't emerged from his room, and his host entered the suite. Poindexter was quoted by the local newspaper as finding Scalia with a pillow over his head. His bedclothes were unwrinkled. He was lying very restfully. It looked like he had not quite awakened from a nap. Scalia did not have a pulse, and his body was cold. That quote about the pillow has triggered questions about the circumstances behind Scalia's death. Investigators say the justice died of natural causes and there were no signs of foul play. Scalia's wife of 45 years has asked that no autopsy be conducted. Scalia's doctor says the justice had gone to his office last Wednesday and Thursday because he wasn't feeling well and that he suffered from several chronic ailments.
It was a very sober mood. We lost a great jurist and a great American.
Scalia had humble beginnings. He was born in New Jersey and grew up in this house in the Elmhurst section of Queens.
And again, it gets weird. All right, the last story, this was the one that we saw. This had 12K views. This has 8.5K views. So 12K views. And this one, you know, what about the boys at the ranch, right? There's not many people that knows this. Not many people that talk about this. That's why I want to make this video. I hope someone out there gets more of this conversation going. Who the fuck was this guy? Who was he really? Again, there's more questions to be raised here. Get ready for the next video.
We're now hearing the 911 call from the Texas ranch where Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia was found dead.
Do you have an emergency or no? Yes.
The ranch owner does not want to identify Scalia over the phone. He tells the 911 operator that the name was, quote, big and it's overwhelming to deal with.
Can you give me the port? Can you give me the Marshal's office number? The United States Marshal in West Texas.
Scalia's son, Gene, spoke to Megyn Kelly about his family's loss.
What has really struck my family and me and meant so much is all the wonderful things that have been said about our father over the last few days.
All right, like I said, according to what kind of sin lets his father die suspiciously without an autopsy? He's in on it. Peep his body language carefully. He's not scripted, shows on words. Pay attention to the subtitles. I agree. Why not ask for an autopsy? Why not ask for an autopsy? And I want to leave you guys one more weird thing about this whole situation.
We're learning new details today of what police discovered at the deathbed of Supreme Court Justice Scalia. A breathing machine like this one was found on the bedside table. It's used to treat sleep apnea, a serious disorder where you stop breathing in your sleep. According to the just-released police report, the hose of the machine was resting on the edge of the bed. The breathing machine was switched off and the hose was not connected to Scalia. We're also finally learning who Justice Scalia's hunting companions were at the lodge in Texas where he was found dead. It turns out the guests belong to a secret society known as the International Order of St. Hubertus. It's a men-only hunting fraternity that dates back to the 1600s.
What we know about members of the society in the U.S. is that they are kind of made up of wealthy men who go on these hunting trips and who enjoy spending time around other hunters.
Members wear plush, dark green velvet robes with cherry red lining, and some hold titles like Knight and Grand Master. Their motto is honoring God by honoring his creatures.
Would you look at that? The International Order of St. Hubris, a hunting club. So many questions in it, and the rabbit hole gets deeper from here. This is one of the things where it's like he died, with these people. And there is a logo that represents their order, this one right here. If you know anything about, like symbolism, you got the deer here, you got Christ here, which symbolizes sacrifice. You got a hunter here. What are they hunting exactly? In Texas, from all places? South by the border? 313,000 immigrant kids missing? I don't know, you guys. You guys tell me what you guys think about this. I have so many fucking questions. I don't want to jam pack you guys with any more. You guys let me know what you guys think. By all means, have questions, open up your mind. Don't let them control you. Good luck.